Hi everyone, I'm going to be talking about massive transfusions today, and here's my audience. Imagine being rushed to the ER and wondering if this is going to be a life or death situation. You're losing blood and you don't know if you're going to make it. Massive Transfusion was written by Lindsay Jennings and Simon Watson in 2023. A massive transfusion involves administering 10 or more units of whole blood or packed red blood cells. According to Massive Transfusion, a review by Sarah Moore and Jay Radville in 2022, in acutely injured trauma patients, only 3% of U.S. citizens and 7% of military patients require massive transfusions. Most people think massive transfusions means that it's a trauma or car accident, where that's not necessarily the case. You can have a blood disorder and all of a sudden be bleeding out. There's other reasons that you need a massive transfusion. That the massive transfusion I review also had stated most massive transfusion events are for non-traumatic causes of hemorrhage, with rates of ranging from 58 to 90% depending on the population studied. Alternatively to blood transfusions and transfusion medicine, written by Alice Mantis and Philip Linden and Jean Francis Hardy in 2012, since the publication of Miller's classic study on coagulation, defects associated with massive transfusions results in thrombocytopenia, which means you're low on platelets, resulting from hemodilution, has been thought to be the most hemostatic abnormality associated with a massive transfusion. So back to kind of the beginning of, it doesn't just have to be a traumatic event. So the components that really go into a whole massive transfusion, you're going to need blood, plasma, platelets. You're going to need a ton of nurses, a ton of people in the actual laboratory working on the type-in screen, making sure the plasma is not frozen. The nurses have a runner, so it'll be one person that takes the blood and runs it back to where the person is having their transfusion being done. And then that's the entire person's job. Then you also have the nurses that are with the patient, the doctors that are with the patient. So there's a lot that actually goes into what a massive transfusion actually does. And here is what a type-in screen looks like. So this patient would be type B, which means there and there. They're two opposites, and same with the A and B, which is how it's supposed to look. So that would be something that my person in the lab would be doing. According to Adult Massive Transfusion Protocol Surgery, wrote by McGovern Medical School in 2024, the protocol that they use is you activate the massive transfusion overhead. The patient gets their type-in screen, a CBC, a TEG, and an ABG. While all of that's going on, they're sending 6 units of packed red blood cells, 6 units of plasma, and 1 dose of platelets down to the person, and that goes on repeat until they call the transfusion over. Practical Transfusion Medicine, written by Michael Murphy, David Roberts, and Mark Yazer in 2017, state the risks that can happen, such as taco, trolley, DIC, and a fever. There's quite a few more, but won't go into all of them. So just for your information, a massive transfusion doesn't have to be just that traumatic event. It could be someone that has a bleeding disorder, somebody that all of a sudden had a stroke and is bleeding in their brain. It's just something that's nice to know of. Hey, it's not just a traumatic event. And this is my audience at the end.